I'm Joyce Hornady. You might say accuracy is my business. I make bullets.
You are listening to the Hornady Podcast.
Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hornady Podcast. If you're tuning in and you've listened previous, thanks for coming back to us. And if this is the first time you're listening to the Hornady Podcast, we're talking about all things hunting, shooting, the outdoors. Would appreciate if you like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Today, joined by Preston Lentfer, fellow marketeer. Preston, thanks for coming on with me today.
You bet. I'm glad to be back. I'm really excited about today's guest.
I am as well. And, you know, as shooters, we love pushing the boundaries. We love shooting stuff far away. Sometimes that spills over into hunting and varmint hunting. And
this guy's really good at it, too.
At competition. And, yeah, we've got a guest that is all those things in spades. So join me in welcoming Tate Streater to the podcast. Tate, thanks for sitting down with us.
Man, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Appreciate it. Well, typically what I've been doing in this venue is if we're gonna tell a story, we're gonna start at the beginning. So, Tate, where'd you grow up? What'd you do growing up, and what was things like for a young Tate?
You know, just like a lot of people that have the story in this industry, I grew up in a small town, about 3,000 people. Didn't even have a Walmart, a couple gas stations, really, you know, no fast food chain, just small town. My dad got me shooting 22s at a pretty young age. I can still remember he still has the bolt action Remington 22 that I started out on. But, you know, hunting squirrels, shooting archery tournaments. My dad was really big into archery tournaments when I was young. I used to go with him on the weekends a few times. When my brother and I got old enough, he kind of got too busy to stay dedicated to that and kind of tapered off. But we always had some kind of shooting competition, bows, you know, rifles, all kinds of stuff. And when I got out of college, you know, it carried on. We went mule deer hunting and almost any kind of hunting you could think of, coyotes, bobcats, calling. When I got out of college and, you know, finally started getting my adult life started, I thought, man, I want to get into this, you know, rifle stuff. Second job I had, I ended up taking with my father-in-law. It wasn't my father-in-law at the time. I was dating my wife at the time, and he ran a manufacturing facility. He had, I don't know, 25 CNC machines, something like that. And I went to work there as just a machinist. Really, what I went to work there for was kind of like a fill-in job in between my oil field job that I knew long term wasn't what I wanted, but I kind of got it out of college just to kind of make some money real quick, and kind of fell into that trap. You know, got some money together, started buying and building rifles, and the bug just kept growing. And after a while, I decided, man, let's just start up these rifle competitions. And man, it's kind of funny how I started. I actually was looking on longrangehunting.com and found Rick Reeves, the White Wolf, as a lot of people know him, and reached out to him. And turns out him and my dad actually worked in the same small company, which is really weird. They're about 2 hours apart. And I reached out to him, and he's like, sure, yeah, you know, come on out. And we're going to shoot this weekend. Just come on out, bring a gun, bring whatever you have. And, man, the rest is really history. Man, as I'm sure you guys know, you show up to a match, and it's probably the most welcoming crowd in any sport that I can think of, is when you show up, just show up with what you have, and everybody's willing to, you know, loan you stuff. And, man, one thing led to another, and, you know, I'm working in a machine shop and shooting rifles, and, you know, decided how to make this a career. And one thing led to another. Met Wade Studeville at a match, and here we are making parts now. But just a small town kid, you know, like running around the woods with a 22, and, you know, here we are. Things a long ways away.
So I got to ask, what was when you went to that first match? Because we've all done it, and we all got addicted immediately. Anybody that's likely done it,
right? What
were you running on that first match for a rifle?
A 284 Winchester on a long action. It's what I had. I didn't even have a muzzle brake. So the game evolved. So I guess the PRS started in 2012. I started in 2010. And the PRS really hadn't come about. There wasn't any positional shooting. People were just laying down, having balloon shoots, clay pigeon shoots, stuff like that. And the 284 Winchester was doing, you know, fairly well in the F-class stuff. So I was like, man, I want to build an accurate rifle. And I've always been a 7mm fan, even though I don't own one right now. I think they're a great compromise between something big and something small. And I showed up and they're shooting 6.5s, 6.5 284s actually, and they had suppressors and saw what they were running, shot their difference, and next thing you know, I have a 6.5 284. Well, a year later, when I came back around, I had a 6.5 284. Well, now they're all on a 6.5 47s and 6.5 Creedmoors and stuff like that. So I was always a year behind until I decided to actually dedicate my time and give it a go at shooting. But it is crazy how we all started. Somewhere you don't really know. You look around on the internet and you get these ideas of what you want, and that's something I tell people every day. It's like the best thing to do is just go to an event, shoot people's stuff before you spend all the money. Because I, like a lot of people, spent a lot of money, and then I had to take a year to get it re-geared and to what I actually needed.
Yeah, I always seem to be about a year behind myself.
Yeah, well, and it's really tough to dedicate the time when you're just getting started. You don't know how good you're going to be. You don't know how much you're going to enjoy it. You don't know how much of a financial obligation you want to make. So you kind of put your toes in the water a little bit, and maybe you make some right or wrong gear choices or whatever. But when you make that decision that I'm going to take this serious, then you can go whole hog and you don't find yourself behind.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing, I that I caught in your kind of your upbringing, your story, is you was mule deer hunting. Where was that at? Was that in Oklahoma?
Colorado.
So going to school, Tate, where were you going to school at that you were able to do all this hunting?
So I actually played golf in college, and I played it's a Division II school. I played golf at East Central University in Oklahoma, and I started going. My dad had been going to Colorado, mule deer hunting for years before I went. But when I turned 8, the deal was if I wanted to go, I could go. So my grandpa went with me, and we rode around on the 4-wheeler and chased grouse and stuff like that. And when I was able to hunt, you could hunt at 12 in Colorado with a bow. So I started hunting, when I was 12. And at one point in time, I had the stats, but I think I went for something like 21 straight years. We'd go for about 10 to 14 days, depending on the year and how it fell. But, when I got into college, I went one year for about a 5-day weekend, and then it kind of tapered off. And, I've gone back since, but it hasn't been anything near on the regular schedule like it was when I was a kid.
Wow.
That is remarkable.
But it was really fun.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I mean, to think that I've spent almost a year of my life in the mountains of Colorado in a tent.
That's really cool.
And chasing mule deer, which is, in my opinion, the pinnacle of Western hunting.
Man, I love it.
You said you played golf.
Yep.
Did you do other sports growing up? Because obviously you're a big dude. I mean, were you a football player, basketball player, wrestler, something like that?
No, man, to be honest, I played little basketball. Probably baseball was probably my favorite sport. But I, for whatever reason, fell into golf and was pretty good at it and had a knack at it. And my mom drove me around and let me play some mini junior PGA tournaments around Oklahoma and Texas when I was young. And one thing led to another, and that's just kind of what I stuck with.
Well, I'll say this, from the precision rifle aspect of it, a lot of that game is the nut behind the bolt. A lot of being good at that is your headspace. And golf, I'm not a golfer. I have been known to go to a golf course, have some beverages, maybe hit the ball around a little bit. But to be a good golfer, so much of that is concentration, being able to do a repetitive task the same way over and over and over and over again. And a lot of that game, from what I understand, is a headspace game. Preston, you probably talk more to that, but I see how they're related.
Yeah, I've golfed a little bit, but I think they're very much related in that respect. But yeah, so were you like, I don't know, I'm not the world's best golfer. Were you like a scratch golfer, or what? How did that go? Do you still golf to this day?
So it's funny you say that. I'm just picking it back up. I actually just got a set of golf clubs from Greg Moore, Callaway City Masetta golf clubs, and he's been wanting to play. We've been out to putting green a couple times, but I just built a house an hour and a half away from our current shop, and we're just in the process of building an expansion of a shop. So it's going to be another big year. Built a house last year, going to build a shop this year, but when it slows down, I do plan on picking it back up, mainly to spend time with the family. I played a couple times. To answer your question, if I'm scratch, when I was a kid playing junior golf, there was a year when I was 14, 15 where my average score was under par in the summer. As I got a vehicle and a girlfriend, scores kind of go up a
Yeah.
little bit. That's just a natural thing. When you're 14, your mom drops you off the golf course in the summer and picks you up when she comes home. You spend all day on the putting green. It's pretty easy to get good at putting. Um, but and then when you get into college golf, it's kind of real. It's kind of your first test of real golf. They tip you out. You play the back tees. They always tuck pins. What goes from a round of par, you're suddenly shooting 4 or 5 over with the same basically
Yeah.
skill level at golf just from those things. I would say that I think my tournament average in college ended up being about 76, 75, 8, something like that. It wasn't great. I definitely was better when I was 14 or 15.
Well, if we play, you're going to have to give me some strokes, okay? But no, that's amazing. Here you got a shop expansion. I think we want to dive into that a little bit.
When did what was the transition like from, wow, this is a fun sport and I'm pretty good at it and I enjoy it, to that next level of your career? When did that take place?
Well, so when I started working for my father-in-law, he was a production, what I call job shop, and I quickly got. I've always been really good with numbers, and a machine shop job is a lot of numbers. A job shop is. We we get done with a job on Thursday, we get a new one on Friday, and it was a constant grind, a constant battle of figuring out the next job. And being a job shop, it's kind of bad to say this, but you have to figure out how the cheapest way and the most efficient way to hold something that you can get them made to fit into tolerance. And it's just a constant battle because you don't get to improve on processes. You may never see this part again. You need to run 50 of them. You got to beat the next guy quoting.
Sure.
More or less, I decided I like this work, but I don't want to do this for the rest of my life because it was like a constant grind. Like you never got the sense of satisfaction to where you were improving on processes or anything. Not that I like the challenge, but I started shooting OPPS, Oklahoma Practical Precision Shooters club matches in 2013. And I actually went to my first match with my 6.5 284 that did not have a brake on it. And by that time, they all had brakes and suppressors. And I showed up and I got like third or fourth from last. And I felt pretty good from a bipod or, regular shooting. But I showed up, we're shooting off of little 4-foot ladders. We're shooting at 10 yards, like stuff that I'd never seen before. So I didn't really feel like I didn't have the skill, but I left my dauber in the dirt. I think I placed fourth from last out of about 50 people. And on the way home, I bought a reamer, I bought a barrel, all kinds of stuff. And by the next club match, I believe it was 2 weeks later, I had a 6XC chambered. And I showed up to that match with a Remington laminate stock with a Remington that I'd rebarreled in 6XC. And I actually had 2 koozies taped to the butt pad for a cheek piece. And Wade Studeville was at that match. And this is 13, and Wade won the Golden Bullet in 12. And I show up, and they're like, do you want to pay to play or do you want to pay for the money? And I'm like, man, I'm not paying for the money because I just got, stomped at the last match. So I didn't pay. And I actually won that match, and Wade got second. But I didn't get the money because Wade was there, and, he paid. He was the top payer. And I thought, man, this is going to be okay. So Wade came up, what do you do? And it just went on. Well, probably 2 years later, I think. I really don't know the length. I'd actually been working on a chassis and being busy in the job shop. It's like, do you do what you're supposed to do? Everybody's like, why don't you do this on the nights and weekends? Well, when you spend all day doing it, 55 hours a week, you don't want to play in your workshop in the evenings. So I had a chassis going and actually made a prototype, and it never came to fruition. But after Surgeon sold to SAC and Wade they split their ways. Wade and I decided we kind of approached each other, I think, and decided, hey, let's do some things that maybe we could do better. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form talking bad about them, but maybe some things we could do better, and let's make a go at this, because we already have the machines, we already have everything in place. It's going to take very minor investment to, see if this thing's going to work. So naturally, I'm like, yeah, let's do that, because I was ready where I was in the shop, doing different jobs every week and grinding, and you kind of get done at 2:00 on Thursday, and Friday you get handed a new job, or you take a new job, and it's just here we go again. So that was in 2015, and Wade more or less drew some stuff out on a piece of paper. I don't know how well y'all know Wade, but he's like a walking encyclopedia. The guy it's unreal what the guy knows in his head. And, he doesn't, if you don't ask him, he's not the kind of guy that, volunteers. He knows a lot of stuff, but he really does. So he brought, I don't even know, 20 different actions over, laid them all on the table. This is good on this. I really like this. I don't know why people don't do this. And before long, I'm standing at the machine, like literally standing in the machine, punching G code, cutting a receiver. And I think we made 22 on that first run. In the 15 finale, I think we had like 13 of the top 100 running them just out of 22 actions that we've made. And every year since then, it's just gotten a little bit bigger and bigger. And, I think in 17, end of 16, 17, we decided to go full bore production and make this thing work. So it was a pretty neat deal. The whole time we're shooting matches, and I'm traveling around with Wade, and I really don't know, the advantage I have, because I'm getting to talk to Wade Studeville on the way to a match and on the way back from a match, and just the amount of information I learned over the course of that traveling was pretty invaluable.
So the 737 is kind of like
the standard.
Like, what were those was that first original run completely different, a little different? I mean, were you able to improve on that?
So, so I might tell you TMI here, but the only thing different that we made from our original 22 is we started putting a trigger hanger in our action, and it really is actually a little bit harder to put a trigger hanger in your action. But Wade wanted to do it for the ease of changing a trigger to match. When I started in 2013, 14, people were running 6 millimeters at the speed of light, pushing everything. The brass wasn't where it is today. We were using large rifle primers. People were piercing primers and smoking triggers. And, Wade wanted wanted it to be easy to change a trigger out in the middle of a match. So that was the main change of that. And we made just a minor error that we didn't foresee in some of the bottom metal, KMW in particular. Nothing against his bottom metal, worked with everything else. But the front of our trigger hanger hit the back of that bottom metal and kind of caused a little bit of accuracy issues that we didn't catch for a little bit. But nothing major. It's pretty much the same thing. We did try to do an unshrouded bolt stop. And we quickly went away from that, just because this might be TMI too, but the reason our bolt stop is shrouded isn't really to protect the bolt stop. It's because we actually buy extra material out on the side of the receiver. So we have almost 3 times the contact of metal to metal when your bolt smokes that bolt stop. You'll probably never break one of our bolt stops, and that's why it's like that. But that's really the only 2 changes is modifying the trigger hanger pocket and moving it back, and the pins forward in the hanger, and shrouding the bolt stop. But for the most part, it was right on where we are now.
So it's pretty impressive. You got it darn right away.
Yeah, well, and it's a testament to your machining background, your knowledge of the sport, and then a testament to obviously Wade's knowledge of the sport and his experience with rifle actions. And you took the time, laid everything out, thought about what you might want in the future, and nailed it right out of the gate. That's simply fantastic.
Right. We got, and I claim that all to Wade. He calls himself a mud and dirt kind of guy. There were some things I wanted to do that made the action look better, put some spiffy stuff on it. And Wade's like, no, I don't like it. He just wanted to run and run well. He's like, we don't need that flashy stuff. He's like, I'm just a mud and dirt guy. And actually, I tried to do some what I thought was cool things early on. He was like, I don't like it. And I was like, all right, whatever. You're the man. I'm just the nobody, making what you tell me to make. So, it's all really Wade. We didn't do anything, anything crazy. We didn't do any experimental things. We just wanted to make a product and make it well, and it to work. And it was taking well by the public, and it's just taken off.
You guys were like the original guys, at least the first ones that I saw, where you could buy an action and you had pre-fit barrels made by yourselves, right, or chambered by yourselves to screw on and screw off of an action with no effort whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just remarkable.
Yeah.
And now everybody does it.
I was going to say, I think everybody does that now. And when you look at the rifle receiver space, it's not necessarily crowded, but there's a bunch of action manufacturers that have been in the business prior to you and around that same time that you guys got into the game. And the quality of your product is, what's going to make it popular. And the fact that your rifle actions are so prevalent in not just the precision rifle community, but the most elite level competitor.
Right.
I don't know if you have any sort of analytics on where your action stands in, as far as top level competitors go and the number, but it's got to be high because you see, the people that are doing good, there's a good chance they're running an impact.
Right. And, taking back to one of your points, we were the first shouldered barrel, like an action manufacturer took a shouldered barrel. AI had been doing pre-fits,
Sure.
but really for like our design, we were the first one, and that was a Wade thing too, and I'm not talking bad about him, but he would say, I'm lazy. He was like, let's make this as easy as we can. Guys are used to, well, for a perfect example, when I started out with the 284 Winchester, and it took me 10 months to gather parts and get it built. And even though I was a machine at the time, I didn't really know, being a machinist, I probably knew more than the average gunsmith about, cutting a barrel, but, because it seems like it's a voodoo thing, but concentricity is concentricity, and straightness and squareness is all the same. But Wade was like, man, the number one thing is guys have to have multiple rifles to send one off. It takes, 6-8 months to get a rebarrel. Like, that's crazy. Like, the tolerances that are called out on the head, like the semi headspace, are 4 thousandths. Like, we're holding 2 4/10 of a thousandth all day long on parts that cost, a tenth the cost of these. Now, sure, it's more expensive, to guarantee headspace and, take the proper time to make fixturing that allows you to hold the headspace than it would be if you were just running them, plus or minus 2 thousandths. But it was kind of, crazy that nobody had ever done that, because it was just a little bit of a change and a little bit more attention to detail. We were able to do that. And when we first started, I didn't understand, like, I knew it was a good idea, but I didn't understand how it would sort of change. But when we did it, Defiance makes a great product, but, later on they started a new line more or less just to guarantee that this line, is headspace, or, we guarantee headspace, you can buy prefits for it. But yeah, it's been unreal. You have, for a while, we had to fight the uphill battle of, well, prefits aren't as good as, somebody has my action. Well, that's absolutely 100% false.
Right.
The gunsmiths that say that typically don't have the measuring tool to cut a barrel to a, and that's really why they say that, I believe. But like I said, you get your barrel in there and, dial it in just like you would if you're custom fitting one there, per se. But yeah, it's
Right.
crazy. As far as analytics, I watched those really close. Before we even started making actions, I was watching Precision Rifle Blog. Cal Zant, does the surveys of what the pros use, and kind of tapered off in 17. The PRS tried to do that on their own. They didn't do it near as well as Cal Zant did, and I don't think that's a secret to anybody. But even for bags, stocks, anything, it was always interesting to see what guys were running. So I always watched that. 15, I think we had 13 in the finale. And I don't want any of these numbers to be held against me, but somewhere around 13. 16, we had somewhere around 30. And 17, we were actually the most popular in the top 100. The survey didn't get turned in correctly, but I took the survey. And we were the most popular there. And, that was nothing I was really doing for bragging rights. It was kind of a scale of performance. How many guys actually trust us, because I'd show up to a match and guys would have them that I didn't even know had them. And that's pretty awesome to do. And in 18, it just got higher and higher. And we actually, at one year, had 71 in the top 100 running an impact.
Holy cow.
So,
Proof's in the pudding, boys.
I walk around like K&M, for instance. There's a lot of rifles at K&M. It's just absolutely unbelievable how many people are, running them. It really makes a guy proud.
Yeah, good for you guys. And in that pre-fit vein, in the precision rifle world, you talked earlier, people running 6mm at the speed of light, and they're not running quite as fast now on the average, but you burn out a 6mm barrel in 3-4 matches, and you got to spool another one up. So that
if you're going to take this game seriously, 3 or 4 matches or practice sessions, whatever it is, comes by real quick.
Real quick. So you pay a little extra money, but you're buying that convenience, and it's guaranteed. The sum of the components produces an accurate result.
Yep.
And that goes a long way.
It does, for sure.
But speaking of accurate rifles, I want to talk about your rifle or rifles, whatever you're running right now. I mean, I don't think, would I be correct in saying maybe you don't do as much competing as you used to, but, you still get some in there?
That is correct. The toll that this game takes on a guy in family life and work life is crazy, because if you want to be good, you have to dedicate time, money. You have to dedicate. You're not just going to go out on the weekend and compete with the guys at the level that they are. So in 2014, that was my first year to take it semi-serious. I think I finished like 15th in the series, but I didn't even know about the top 10 bullets, which are sacred to like the good shooters. In the precision rifle series, when you finish top 10 on the season, you get a top 10 bullet. Well, it's kind of almost like a green jacket, at the Masters when you get them. It's pretty sacred. When you get one, like I got my first one in 15, and it's like you look at it and you're like, man, it's just like something comes over you. It's like, man, I had to work my rear off to get this thing. So I got one in 15, 17, 19, and 20. But I've been at this a long time. I believe this is my 9th year. And, I've got 3 kiddos now. I've got a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a newborn. We had it back in October. Part of my job and part of our success is that I'm out in the crowd. I'm at matches. I'm, participating, decent shooter. And I'll always want to go.
Decent.
I'll always want to go. But right now, we start T-ball, coach pitch, stuff like that. I'm wanting to take the kids fishing. To compete, it's just like golf. When I quit golf, it wasn't that I didn't really like playing golf anymore, but I didn't like playing at a lower level than I knew I had been playing at. It wasn't fun to me not being able to hit the shots that I used to could make. So same thing in rifle. I'm going to go this year. So last year I built a house, finished it all myself. Actually, still working on it. I don't know if anybody ever finishes a house. I've got
not when they do it themselves.
Yeah, not likely. Good for you though.
But anyway, I actually plan on this year. I got a range at the house now, and I plan on. So in the past, like in 19, when I won the NRL finale or in our NRL season, Clay Blackheader and I, which Clay was also a Hornady shooter, he won the PRS that year. And about halfway through the year, I said, if we're ever going to go, let's go. Like, we've got a good start. I think I shot 16, 17 matches that year, 2-day matches. And at the time, I was probably still shooting 1-day matches. But Clay was after the PRS, so I would go to the PRS. Obviously, I wanted to do well too, but he was in the hunt for the PRS, and I wanted to go to the NRL matches because I wanted to bump my points up in that. And, in 19, we both, I won the NRL and Clay won the PRS. And it was kind of like, okay, I can do this, if I want to, kind of thing. So I kind of backed off the pedal a little bit, but I still don't want to go without being competitive. And with our business growing about that time, we've doubled since 19. I want to take care of that. I've got kids. Anyway, last year I spent building a house, and I'd schedule matches back-to-back weekends thinking, all right, I'll go this weekend and get in tune for next weekend. Well, then what happens is you're gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get home late or early Monday morning, spend 3 days getting your gun ready to go the next weekend, and, you neglect work, you neglect practice, you neglect your family. Before you know it, you're not doing anything well. So what I've decided this year is I'm going to hit 6 or 8 matches. I'm going to prep at the house the weekend before, spread them out, every 30 days. I don't care where they are, just pick a match that fits my timeline. And I'm going to go to that match with the intent of doing well. And, spend 3 hours at the house, getting my gun ready and prepping myself mentally the weekend before and the week before, and go with the intent of doing well instead of just showing up and hope it happens, which doesn't seem to work very well anymore.
No, that's a great strategy. And if you don't control your life, it gets controlled for you. And if you make priorities for family and your home and your business and your competition, I think you'll do well, and you'll probably have a happier life, a happier wife because of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So your competition rig, what's it looking like this year? What are you running for a cartridge? What are you running for a bullet? What are you running for an optic?
Stock,
I can assume you're running
cartridge.
a foundation stock, and I'm guessing an impact action.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
what are the other stuff?
So the things that are always the same is I run a foundation stock, obviously one of our actions, a Bartline barrel chambered by Wade. I keep a 6 Creedmoor, and I keep now as a 6 Dasher. I have in the last couple of years been running a BR. But Clay, I quit reloading. I hate reloading. I hate loading. I quit reloading way before I quit loading. I just use new brass and shoot it one time and sell it, and then whatever I lost it for, go buy more brass, just for the ease of you take 2 hours in the evening to away from your family. What's that time worth? And if you're behind at work, what's it worth? So I gave that up when I had kids, and Clay Blackheader at Clay's Custom Cartridges loads all my stuff. I send him all my bullets, all my brass, powder, and sometimes even a rifle. And we've got known loads with our barrels now. The 6 Creed, I like to run it about. I don't run it super fast, 2950, 2980. Typically, I'm always running a 110 tip in competition. And a Dasher, I run 2850. There just seems to be a little bit less recoil. And if I'm shooting a match where it's in a field match, like last year at the finale in New Mexico, I took a Creedmoor. This last weekend in Kansas, I probably should have had a Creedmoor, but I didn't. I took the slow one. And, I rotate back and forth, but I always run Hawkins mounts. I like Andy. He's probably, I like Made in America stuff anytime that I can use it. I like Andy. He's a buddy. The scope deal, I've been running Tangent Theta. And, for people that don't know, I'm part of a training group called JTAC, and it's Justin Watts, myself, Austin Orgain, and Clay Blackheader, which are decent shooters. They're decent shooters too.
Your definition of decent is different than mine.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, jeez.
But we started training last year, and it's taken off crazy. We more or less we had no organization whatsoever. We posted class and it filled up. We started trying to find a muzzle brake that was better at keeping the lower recoil in rifles like a Dasher on target. And so I kind of had a hand in designing that brake. I don't make it now just because I'm so busy at work. But the Ace brake, I run that on the end of my rifle as well. But it pretty much looks the same besides, what caliber I'm going to the match with.
Sure. And what do you like about the 110 tips?
Yeah.
Fill us in on your experience with them.
They've been super consistent. Nothing against the 108. The factory, my buddy's got piles of 6 Creed 108 ammo up here because the 108 ammo shoots so well. Be quite honest, I couldn't load it any better than the ammo. It's so good, in fact, that Justin Watts, I don't know how well y'all know Justin, but he ran Hornady ammo for 2 full years. And I'm wanting to say in about 12 matches, he only placed out of the top 5 2 times out of 12 matches, something along those lines. He had 2 wins with factory Hornady ammo. But the 110 tips gave you the edge on the BC, and it was super easy to tune. Like, there's literally no tuning. And that's what I like about anything that I shoot is I don't want to mess with it. Like, I don't have time to mess with it. Like, I need to be able to plug and play, follow our roadmap, send it to Clay, say load this, and I need to show up at a match and know that it's going to do what it did last time and be consistent. And that's the main thing I like about them. The BC is nice, but I really just like the consistency of them.
Yeah, consistency and forgiveness is what I love about them. I've never checked seating depth in any of my rifles. I go to mag length, and that's what they live for the entire length of the barrel.
Yeah, they are forgiving of jump distance. They're pretty forgiving of twist rate. They generally shoot well, like you mentioned, Tate. Really easy to tune, and that's not an accident. There was a lot of design and R&D that went into designing those A-tips. And when you decent shooters are separating positions 1 through 5 by maybe 1 or 2 impacts on a 2-day match, on a 20-stage match, the difference between first and second is usually an impact or two. Picking up that little bit of consistency that you get from, like you'd mentioned, the 108 ELD match is a fantastic bullet, and there's a bunch of other good match bullets from other brands out there. But when you get that last little bit of performance, that last couple percent that A-tip gains you, when you're really splitting hairs to get in that top 5, that top 10, certainly, winning matches, that's where that A-tip really shines.
Right. Yeah. I still remember getting my first batch. I actually met you at George Gardner's place for the Fordoff class. And speaking of Fordoff, I actually went there thinking I'm not going to learn anything new. And before Jaden got done talking, I realized I didn't know anything. And this was
Jaden can do that to folks.
And anyways, I remember they sent Wade some test bullets, and Wade sent them to me. And at the time, I was a go-getter. That was before we really got busy at work and before my kids got old. And Wade had them for like a week and hadn't shot them, because he's so busy. And then I got them. I took them out of the box. They were in shop rags, and I took them home, and I put them in 2 different barrels and was playing up and down, grain and a half difference in powder. And I was like, these suckers are going to work. So I called Wade. I'm like, oh, yeah, you need to get more of these suckers. And, it's been that way pretty much ever since, no matter what I've done. Clay actually uses his in his coyote rig. He runs on about 3,400 on coyotes, but I like them. Perhaps my favorite thing when they first came out is everybody else is shooting a target and with regular, pass bullets, and you shoot the target and it leaves a pretty silver spot on the target. That was maybe the best part of the A-tip for the time being, but now that everybody shoots them, you don't get as much of that benefit.
Yeah. No, you don't, but that is a super valid point, and I just spent 30 seconds talking about how 1 or 2 impacts separates the first 5, placers. And the little things that help separate is, okay, I hit the plate and now moving on to the next target. But those elite level guys, or those decent guys like you're talking about, they see where they hit the plate. Right. They don't just recognize I hit the plate. They recognize where I hit the plate, and they can make a correction as they continue on throughout the course of fire. And being able to see that splash within, you already made the impact, but now you're looking at exactly where that impact was. That's information that.
And it's kind of like how deep do you want to get into it? How much do you want to train? Because, you're right. That factory ammo shoots fantastic. And we've shot matches with it, but not just Justin Watts. There's other guys in the industry or guys that are top-level shooters that will just shoot factory ammo because they don't have time to hand load.
Yeah.
And I will say, I'm with you. I despise brass prep. I kind of like hand loading.
Yeah.
But I hate brass prep.
Find me a man who doesn't.
I can't do that right now. But you mentioned coyotes. You're not self-proclaimed, but I think others would proclaim you're a heck of a coyote hunter down there as well, right?
Man, I can't take all the blame. I grew up, like I said, in a small town. We had a lot of access. At the time when I was, 10 years older, I started hunting younger, but, let's just say 8 or 10, there weren't that many people hunting coyotes. We were still hunting with a cassette player that my dad rigged a speakerphone up to. Like, it wasn't even a name brand, thing here. And as it progressed, it got harder and harder. Access started getting, shared and, or taken away, and somebody else got access. But So I started coyote hunting, or I've been coyote hunting. I started shooting coyotes at a little bit longer ranges. We started doing well at competitions, and I met Quinn Rogers. Actually, I knew him. He's from basically the same. We went to the same high school. He was 4 or 5 or 6 years younger than me, maybe even more than that. I don't want to think of it as more than that. But I met Quinn at a competition, and we tied. And Quinn beat us in a weigh off, and we're talking after, and like, how many coyotes you see today? And Quinn's like 21. And I'm like, 21 coyotes. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, he's like, how many did you see? And I'm like, 7. And we killed 6. And they killed 6, seeing 21. And I'm like, what kind of guns do you guys have? And he's like, we're using ARs, and red dots. And I'm like, oh, no. So, my buddy Jameson Pence and I at the time, we're fairly good shots, but, 350 and in or something, we're good. But I wasn't making long shots at the time. And still, you don't want to make a long shot on a cow. You just want to be able to. My buddy John Griswold calls them bonus coyotes. If I'm hitting a coyote outside of 400 in a competition, I'm beating somebody else, at the competition. We call them bonus coyotes. But anyway, Quinn called me later on that week, and he goes, "Hey, I got an idea." I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "How about you come hunt with me, and I call, and we go to my spots, and you shoot." And I'm like, "Man, that sounds like a really good idea." So, that's like a dream team right
Count me
there.
in.
So anyway, for the most part, at the time, Quinn, I'm not taking anything away from him. He'll agree. He couldn't hit a pizza box at 100 yards, 8 out of 10 times. He just didn't grow up, as much like I didn't have the background. So we started hunting in some competitions and doing well. With a buddy he had originally hunted with, we started hunting with him on his place, which is where all the coyotes are, and which they do a tremendous amount of the scouting. Like the week before, like people don't know. It's probably crazy how much time we put in that. It's just like anything else. If we're going to do it, we want to win. The number one reason I coyote hunt is, as you get busy and you get older in life with family stuff, it's hard to make the time. Like if you're going to hunt around the house, it's like you never want. It's hard to go 2 miles away from the house and hunt without thinking, man, I need to be at home doing this, or I should be at the shop, or man, I should be, doing whatever with my kids. But when you plan a weekend, a couple weekends of, a spring, or 4 or 5, whatever it is, my wife would probably say 12, but you dedicate that day to hunt with buddies, and you might not have seen for a while. So that's probably my favorite thing about it. But the guys we hunt with, Cole Lockwood and Sonny Stewart, they have some pretty good land access, to say the least. And those guys are out during the week, scouting. They're checking fence crossing, checking fresh scat. They're listening to them in the morning where they're howling, they're locating them. There's all kinds of stuff that goes in that. But yeah, I wouldn't call myself the great coyote hunter because it really takes a team. Even though I can do all those things too, but for the most part, I would say Quinn's my quarterback. We usually refer to the caller as the quarterback, and he is, and I'm not bad at that. I've always been probably the main shooter, and we haven't ever had a reason to change. But I would say where we succeed the best, and is we have multiple coyotes come in. Typically, there's not very many leave.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
And we've done it so long that Quinn, I'm thinking about shooting. Quinn's watching their actions and facial expressions, if you will. He can typically pick out which coyote's the one that's about to bust if you don't shoot it, run out if you don't shoot it first, and what's going on. So it's just fun. There's more to it, or we've taken more to it than what's on the surface. But that's what we really like to do, is get 3 coyotes coming in and figure out a way to get all 3 of them, with high percentage shots.
And I'm guessing that's all suppressed.
Oh yeah, I don't hunt with anybody that's not got a can. Yeah, that's a no. You don't get in the truck with a can.
That's a good policy.
That's a policy.
So what are you running for a cartridge? You running the same stuff you run in your match?
No. So the terrain that we hunt in, we're about 3 hours away from there where I'm from. And Quinn and I originally started hunting together, but the terrain we hunt in is kind of what I would call rolling hills of bluestem grass. And I started hunting with my match guns so that, maybe being shot out or slowing down or something like that. And the reason I quit, I wouldn't say that I'm a speed chaser, but the reason I quit is we have a lot of coyotes come in, or for instance, you shoot at some and they run out there 400 yards and stop. I never will forget when I met Quinn that first night. It's kind of funny. He said, man, we shoot at them. They go out there about 400 yards and just sit on their butt and bark at us, and we can't hit them, And I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds good, but
yeah, bread and butter.
We don't want to make those shots, if we can call them in, especially if there's multiple dogs. But we started going faster. We shoot an 87 A-tip. I started out with the 22 Creed, and the 22 Creed's fine, 75 ELDM. But every now and then you'd have a small percentage of runners, and you could smoke them right in the chest. And if it didn't hit enough of the bone or shoulder to expand, you could peek it through a rib and not completely destroy, and just smoke them out, lights out. So we went bigger, 6mm 87, and we went faster. And the main reason I went faster is because we use rangefinder binos. We're hunting in stuff where you may only be able to see the top of a coyote's ears, at 300 yards. We typically set up where we can have them come downwind where we can see them. But we're scanning in binos, and we'd range a coyote at 500, and then the next time you'd see him, he'd be at 420, and then the next time you see him, he'd be at 210, and we started pushing those 87s above, upwards of 3,600, so that we could get a little bit of a range forgiveness.
Mhm.
If one popped out and was 20 yards closer, we didn't feel like we had to waste time to, re-range. We were already in the scope. Let's just shoot. So, to answer your question, I've been everywhere. I've been 6 SOM, 6 PRC, 6 284, and this year's probably my favorite hunting rifle that I ever built was a 6 Creedmoor, running the 87s, and I was running them about 3,400, so 18-inch barrel, and man, I love the rig, but you know,
Yeah, 87 grain VMAX is it's honestly it's a super nice balance.
It really
for
is.
doing it kind of exactly what you're talking about. In the ARC, I like to run 75 grain VMAX. I think that's a really nice balance. But with some more powder behind that bullet, the 87 is going to fly really flat.
Oh yeah.
Still has a decent BC.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go in there and expand right now.
Yeah. Well, and the range
Right.
forgiveness is huge. Especially when you got multiple coyotes coming in, range forgiveness is huge. And
Yep.
Is it nice to take care of the fur? In some instances, yeah, there's been years, at least here in Nebraska, where a coyote, $30, $40, $50, sometimes upwards of $100.
Sometimes at the beginning of the season, then it dwindles off, but that's far and few between as far as the seasons go.
Well, and kind of regardless of fur, especially in places like Oklahoma, Kansas, parts of Nebraska, whether or not they're being hunted doesn't matter. There's an obligation to thin that herd because they can get out of control really quickly, and huge expanses of our states are nothing but cattle, and you lose a calf, and then times however many calves you lose or something like that. I mean, and then not to mention that their numbers can get out of hand so fast, and they get mange and sick and disease.
I don't want to paraphrase incorrectly, but one of our friends, Les Johnson, Predator Quest, once said, you can shoot as many coyotes as you want. You're never going to get rid of them all.
Mhm.
But when you do that, the ones that remain are healthier.
Yeah, you're doing them a favor. You're doing us a favor. So you have an obligation to shoot them anyway, regardless of what the fur looks like. As a hunter and an outdoorsman, a conservationist, if you will. But that is blistering speed.
Yeah, hot nasty, you might say.
I guess. Yeah. But when you're in the business of actions and barrels,
No big deal.
yeah, you can, burn that barrel out a little quicker. It's all right.
Yeah.
man. So when you're hunting, and I guess I'm pretty confident in, getting my gun broken in and going running out, and then I know that gun for the rest of its life. That's one reason I don't like changing things. I can go run it out once, and I can go pick that gun up in 3 weeks and feel confident it's going to do what I do when I put it up. And if you're only shooting, 2 rounds every 2 hours or whatever it may be, you're not hurting that barrel like you are in a match. So I honestly have never taken one to a point to where it didn't work or it slowed down. Wade Studeville, I'll go with him all the time. I'll have sayings that I say that really came from him, but it's like, heating metal up with a cutting torch. That first couple rounds or first couple seconds you touch that steel doesn't do anything like when that sucker gets hot. Like in a long string of fire, shots 15 through 20 hurt it way worse than 0 through 5, or at least that's the way I see it. But if you're only shooting that many rounds, you should get a lot of years of cow hunting out of it.
That stands to reason.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that. Just think about 34 to 3,600 feet per second. That's all.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit from varmint hunting to big game stuff. Are you doing? You mentioned earlier you were an archer. Are you doing big game hunting? And if so, what kind of cartridge selection are you making there?
Well, so in all my years going mule deer hunting, I took a bow. I've actually never killed one with a rifle. Speaking of, I missed the Colorado deadline for my bighorn sheep hunt. I've got
That was
9
yesterday,
weighted
I
points.
think.
It was yesterday.
Yeah. Dang.
But and I'm a 300 W. I got a moose hunt planned next year with Joe Walls and Tom Fuller. And I'm taking a 300 WSM. I'm a short action guy. I make long actions. I don't even own one. If I was going dangerous game hunting or something and wanted one, that'd be fine. But not to butter you guys up at all, but with the factory offerings of ammo, the 6.5 PRC, the 300 WSM stuff shoots amazing. I don't even reload. I shoot factory ammo when I go hunting. Last year, 2 years ago, elk hunting, took 6.5 PRC. I'm going to up it on my moose hunt and go to a 300 WSM. But I've already got the barrel chambered for it. It's 18-inch bark line. And that's what I'm going to roll with. So if I had to answer your question on a big game rifle, I'm going mule deer hunting. I'm taking a 6.5 PRC. If I'm going, moose hunting or something big, I'm taking a 300 WSM.
You doing the precision hunter with the 200 grain ELDX and the 300 WSM?
Yes, sir. Yep.
That's awesome.
It shoots so good. Like we build 300 WSM rifles. I keep that to shoot groups with, and it's stupid how good it shoots. Joe Walls at Exodus Rifles, I talk to him on a daily basis. He texted me just yesterday, and he built 4 6.5 PRCs, and he sent me groups. It was just stupid what shots 2 through 4 do with the factory ammo. It's unreal. So I'm typically going to make my caliber selection off of what those factory offerings are, because people are whining about prices right now. There's typically ammo you can find. It's high. But anyway, back to the caliber selection. I choose my. I'm a 7 guy, but the reason I don't shoot a 7 SAUM or anything like that is because there's not really a factory offering of ammo. I'm an easy button guy. Keep a case ammo on the shelf and it'll last me the rest of my life hunting big game. I don't know if you heard it, but I hear guys all the time with they're $60 a box, and I used to pay for $45. What's $15 in the grand scheme of things? Just get it and save your time, that you spent 2 hours looking for it somewhere. Stop by, 10 stores looking for a box of ammo that's going to last you 2 years. So I've got factory 300 WSM and 6.5 PRC on the shelf, and that's what I'm going to roll with until it's out.
That's, we find ourselves in that exact same scenario where we've got young families, we've got work going on, we got all of our other interests, and we have the ability, because we're here at the factory, if we wanted to hand load any combination under the sun, we could do that. And there was a time where I did that. I know Preston was all about that, Wildcat and stuff and whatever, and it didn't take long before now it's like, when I'm building a new hunting rifle or getting an old one out of the gun safe, I'm going to our factory ammo.
Yeah, just gonna grab it and go.
I'm just grab it, go, easy. I know the consistency's there, the accuracy's there, and yeah, it's the easy button. I could either spend an hour and a half of my life getting things set up and load myself 40 rounds and go practice at the range and go hunting, or I just grab this box of factory ammo that's going to do as good or better than my hand loads in some instances.
Yeah, a guy needs sleep, and I typically, when I hand load, when I still do the very little that I do it after the kids are asleep. So one of them goes down pretty easy. The other one will fight you until midnight if he could, but a lot of times he'll wake up or go to sleep about 10:30, and I'll hand load till midnight. What's that sleep worth if I can just go grab a box of ammo?
Yeah, I sleep before I wake up.
Yeah, and used to it'd be like, I'm going to save some money, but by the time you invest all the stuff you invest in reloading, you have to load a lot. When I shot, I used to keep track of the rounds. In 14, I shot about 8,500 rounds, center fire, all hand loaded ammo. Last year I shot about 3,000. But I should have shot more. But building a house hindered that a little bit. But man, it's just so easy to go buy some ammo and be done with it. And I've yet to see a 300 WSM or a 6.5 PRC not shoot with the factory ammo. I mean, let's just call it 800, if you will. Most people, I'll be honest, I feel like I'm pretty good, and I'm not probably going to take a shot outside of 800 if I don't have to. But, I can run out 790 at my house is probably why I use that example. But, if you were to hand load some ammo and shoot the factory ammo, there's not going to be a lick of difference, 99% of the time for that, especially for the average guy.
Yeah, and people have to understand what their personal limitation is going to be. And it's like, is hand loading or factory ammo going to make that difference? And a lot of times the answer is no, because they haven't looked at the parameters of it. But
Well, another thing to think about too is, so that 3 hours doing load development and loading, could you have worked on different positions, you might encounter in the field, or shooting off a tripod, or, figuring out how to use your backpack as a rest, or, something like that. So I'd rather spend my time, doing that as I had loading.
Yeah, or mowed the lawn, pulled weeds, all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah. It's spring. I got to get my spraying done.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I haven't had a reloading table. I took my press off. I had a table, but I haven't been able to reload at my house in about 3 years. I had to put a press on a table last year to get my 6 PRC going, but I don't,
Wow.
like you said, loading after the kids go to bed, it's just a distraction. I don't even want it anymore at the house. I shoot. Well, this year I ordered some 87 of the Hornady VMAX ammo.
Yeah.
But
Farm and
I just
Express.
want the easy button. So
Yeah, I probably will likely just not hand load a whole bunch until my kid can do it for me.
Get him on the bench, yeah. Size
Until I
this
can trust
brass.
him.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be punishment for when he gets in trouble
Yeah,
at
there
school.
you go.
Go size that bucket of brass. Awesome. Well, Tate, what's next for Impact and for you personally? Looking forward now into the future, and you guys came in, made a huge splash in the industry, done a ton of great things. You said competitively you're kind of backing off the throttle, and the matches you're going to really focus on preparation and performing well at those. But looking into the future, what's next for Impact? Anything new you guys are working on, or anything you and Wade are looking to do in the future?
Yeah. So like you said, I'm pulling back on matches, but I really want to do better. I'm not doing it to not shoot as much or shoot well. I'm actually doing it because I think it'll be better for my performance to spend, instead of that weekend being gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not let the house get behind and spend 6 hours, Saturday morning, making sure everything's in line, make sure my pack's ready, making sure, my data runs out, make sure I have everything in line. So when it's time to leave next weekend, I'm ready to go and I'm not thinking about anything else. Because we all know, the phone rings more right before you're going to leave for a match than it does any other time of the week. So, be ready ahead of time. As far as expansion of Impact, we do have some ideas. I'm not sure where it'll go because right now my monthly recurring orders for short action is currently 130% of what I'm able to produce. So
Wow.
that's just a monthly recurring order of a 737. Now that's all the various bolt faces in there, but I have been a real big believer in do what you do and do it well. So I haven't ventured off and made a whole bunch of other part numbers because if I have these customers that are, banking on these parts monthly and I don't provide those parts for them, then they get behind for their customers. Customers aren't happy, then they're not happy with me. So I try to take care of what we do and do it well. So as far as the expansion, I'm going to make more 737s. When I see that demand catch up, probably rather than take on new dealers. And that's such a hard talk. I bet you guys deal with it daily. Everybody wants to be a dealer when it's right. But
right now,
I've got these dealers that have treated us well, that literally grew with us. They believed in us early on, started carrying our product, started pushing our product. So, I'll start making more long actions. We're going to make some hunting actions. I've actually already released, I take that back. I've already proofed out a round action that is more economical and hunter friendly, a little bit lighter. I don't have time to make it, but I feel like as a company, if I'm not ahead of that and fitting stuff like that in, I'm not doing ourselves justice. Sometimes I think you have to invest a little bit in that, R&D ahead of time, even if you're not going to use it, just so you can plan ahead. But right now the plan is to make more 737s, and as I catch up on demand, I'll get back into long actions. That demand is absolutely overwhelming. There's probably, even though I'm not a long action fan, there's probably as many long action guys out there as there are short actions looking for custom actions. I have some pretty good numbers to back up that for the most part. But like I said, I'm going to stay in my lane, do what I do well, cater to, who's taking care of us for our duration and see where it goes. I do have a couple of things on the back burner, that goes to hunting, more of the hunting crowd, because that's what I'm passionate about. But I'm going to stay in the match game as long as the match game's going to have me. So
that's awesome. And you said something in there that it's kind of been the underlying tone of what we've talked about, and everything that you've done is do what you're going to do and do it well. And from getting into match shooting to building actions to building the house, taking care of your family to hunting coyotes. It sounds like when you figure out that you're going to do something, you do it to the highest level possible.
Go whole hog.
Yep. Preston, anything else you want to ask Tate before we wrap this thing up?
I can't think of anything else. I've just been extremely delighted. I love hearing people's stories, their upbringing. I mean, honestly, Tate, we come from small town Nebraska. Your story sounds very similar to ours.
Except for we're not
just not
decent
decent shooters. But
yeah, that's right. We do have a similar story, and I enjoy getting to see that background from a lot of folks. And Tate, we are really glad to have you on Team Hornady. He's just a genuinely great man to have around, and has positively impacted the industry and all the companies that you work for. So we really appreciate you, being a part of Team Hornady and joining us on the podcast.
Man, I appreciate it. I couldn't be more honored.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we will catch you on the next one.